Hey, what up, world? I like to post a lot of LeBron James videos on here, let alone pretty much every sports media program page. Antoine Walker, buddy of LeBron James. Kind of want to go over here, and I've kind of mentioned this on a video I did in the past and kind of videos here and there, but I want to cover with these guys' takes, and I'll give my own opinion, chiming in. So, will another title put LeBron James in the GOAT category with Michael Jordan? Will he still be considered the GOAT? Will this title make him the GOAT? You guys already know my position on this. I have LeBron James number 5 all time in the all time rankings. I know a lot of cats in social media in this generation are going to get pretty ticked off about that. I mean, I could care less. Listen, it's not MJ, then LeBron, then Kareem, Magic, etc. No. Listen, my top 5 is very simple. I'll make another video, more of a breakdown, but I have number 1, Michael Jordan. Number 2, Bill Russell. 3, I have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Number 4, Magic Johnson. Those are my Mount Rushmore of the NBA in all of history. Then at number 5, I have LeBron James. And I'll make another video, go more in depth, maybe even some information here. But listen, LeBron's only had 3 championships in his career. He's had player mobility. He's left his team 3 times to 4 teams, which is technically 3 franchises. And he's in 17 seasons. So he's played more than pretty much any other NBA player in NBA history when it comes to an all-star status. And he only has 3 championships. With all these resources and and all these avenues he can take. But then again, listen, if LeBron wins a championship, and I actually have predicted the Lakers to win it this year, and I project him to win it. So if LeBron wins this year with the Lakers, pretty much wins Finals MVP, takes down the Bucks in the finals, I'm going to put LeBron James as of right now, and I'll really evaluate how it plays out, especially that they're going to be in Orlando with the pretty much new technique when it comes to the category and logistics of things. But I'm pretty much going to have to put LeBron over Magic Johnson as in the Mount Rushmore of the NBA at the number 1 slot. I'll have to really evaluate, but that's just as of right now. Let's see what they have to say in here, and I'll get my take.
I take mine back to 2018 NBA Finals when we had 51-8-8. We get that game gets overshadowed because of obviously what J.R. Smith did at the end of that game. But that was probably the best game I ever seen LeBron play. If you really look at how he scored, the 3-point.
Oh, real quickly, and to chime in with Antoine Walker, LeBron James game 1 of that 2018 NBA Finals was pretty much the most perfect game I've ever seen a player play in NBA history. I mean, I think he finished the game with like over 80% shooting, maybe even close to in the high 80s or 90s. But man, LeBron was pulling up J's, 3-pointers, driving in. Everything looked so effortlessly. Very smooth when it came to his game. In the 2018 finals and playoffs, his jumper and his offensive game was the best we've ever seen. LeBron was even clutch at the end, nailing 2 layups. The last minute, everything was just on point when it came to him, which he had to play perfect just to be in a close game against the Warriors, which is crazy. But listen, with J.R. Smith's decision at the end, they still were to go to overtime. LeBron had 5 more minutes. I know the momentum and the hope was gone, basically because JR ruined it. But as a leader, LeBron, you got to take things and put it together. They pretty much scored like 2 points in overtime, and they lost around 7 or 9 points. Besides that point, the Cavaliers were still not going to win the finals,
Shooting,
even if they did.
The in-between game, getting to the basket, the focus that he played with. And you got to remember, he was going against Kevin Durant and the other 3 All-Stars on Golden State, and LeBron was really out there by himself, and he made those guys unbelievable that night. But that's my favorite game. I love watching that game. That showed you. It put you in that category where LeBron, you saw the whole arsenal. He went to his package that day.
Antoine, I love that game. My game is also a huge individual performance. It is the 2007 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5, when he scores 25 straight, scores 29 of 30, and takes the game into double overtime and wins it, sends the Pistons, it's Game 6, they still play a little bit more.
Man, I was watching a rerun of that game, I think a couple weeks ago. The referees were calling so many calls and fouls in the 4th quarter and overtime. Like, ridiculous. The game was stopping here, back and forth. Some controversial ones for LeBron James to get to the rim and a call and foul. It was all over the place. The refs right then, that was That was a travesty. Even though LeBron did score 25 points, uh, the last 25 points for his team in the fourth quarter and overtime, he had some clutch jumpers as well as LeBron missed a couple chippies and some shots he should have made. Not saying LeBron's not quote unquote clutch. We've seen LeBron can be stingy at sometimes and hesitant. I still saw that same energy and vibe from him that night. But he did get the job done. He was around 22 years of age.
But basically, the Pistons will lose that series.
kudos.
LeBron will go on to the finals. Here's why I think that game is so impressive and still underrated. Our resident LeBron expert has this even at his ninth best performance, which I think is insane. Here's how underrated it is when you look at the stats from that game. Chris, this is difficult to pull off if you're by yourself in the gym. It's difficult to pull off if you're on a Nerf hoop. It's difficult to pull off if you're shooting balled up pieces of paper in a garbage can.
Listen, LeBron didn't have the best supporting cast. Big Z was still underrated on that team. And you had a couple of 3-and-D shooters. That's how they played around the LeBron James system. LeBron was a small forward, but always had the ball in his hands. So, kudos to LeBron actually wanting to take over, quote unquote, at the end of the game, taking those shots. He was efficient at 9-11. He was hitting a lot of, he would drive in a lot, which is predicated to one of his advantages in his whole game set. But he did make a couple of fadeaway threes and jumpers.
5 points. He goes 9 for 11, 2 for 2, and 5 for 8 on free throws. And look, he didn't do this against just any old team. This was a Pistons team that was historically underrated. I know they only won one championship, but they went to 6 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals. They held LeBron to 10 points in Game 1 of that series. I think it's obviously an amazing performance, but somehow it is still underrated, Broussard.
As great as LeBron was, it's interesting because you wonder, would it have happened had Detroit not lost their defensive anchor in that offseason, which was Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace was not there. They had lost him to free agency in Chicago. And so he would have had something to say about LeBron scoring those 25 straight points. But that was a great defensive team for Detroit. But for me, guys, the moment that stands out for me.
He's probably going to say Game 6 against Boston in the 2012 conference finals. The Heat were up 2-0 that series. They were looking like they were going to get to the finals and, finally get LeBron's first ring. And then Boston came in and won 3 straight. Pressure was on the Heat. They would have lost that series in that game against Boston. They pretty much maybe would have retooled and maybe even blown up the Big Three. Just kept LeBron. I think there were some rumors of Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol for Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. I remember that on ESPN First Take. I don't know if that was kind of overblown, but Kobe at that time was kind of in a desperate moment as well because in 2011 he got swept. 2012 he lost in the second round against the Thunder. So Kobe knew his time of contention.
I believe it was June 19th, 2016. That's Game 7 in Golden State. There were so many.
Yeah, no, that was going to be my second take of it. I mean, LeBron had 27, I think 10 and 11. He had a triple-double. He didn't go crazy in the amount of points, but LeBron was efficient that game. Was more focused on winning, which LeBron usually pulls 35, 40 points in the playoffs or the finals, let alone. Well, in the playoffs, he'll pretty much win those games in the East, but in the finals, pulling up those points, not the case really when it comes to the Warriors or, any of the teams like that. But yeah, no, you got listen. 2016 Game 7 was historic. Those were goatish moments, or that was a goatish moment for LeBron.
First
so
or
you're
greatest
most likely going to have to put that up
elements
there.
to this game, as of course, is when the Cavaliers came back from the 3-1 deficit to beat Golden State and win the championship. Number one, it was the greatest championship of LeBron's career, I'd say, of the 3. It was the greatest comeback in NBA history. It was the most iconic block shot in NBA history when LeBron pinned, there it is right there, Andre Iguodala against the glass. And it was the first championship, major league championship for Cleveland in 52 years. Oh, and to cap it off, LeBron had a triple-double with 27 points, 11 assists, and 11 rebounds in that game. Afterwards, remember, LeBron himself said it was that performance and that championship that made him think he was the GOAT. And on the court, his agent, Rich Paul, was jumping around knowing I was about to go on television and telling me he's the GOAT now, Chris. He's better than Jordan. Jordan couldn't have done that. He was trying to get into my psyche so I'd say that on the air,
Yeah,
but
when LeBron said
I
that
held
on
back.
Uninterrupted on his own platform show with the couple cats on there, he's trying to plant the seeds. LeBron probably knows if anything he can finish off with one last championship in his career, which is probably gonna be 2020 with the Lakers. He knows he's not going to catch Michael Jordan in 6 rings. At most, probably 4, if anything. Depending if the Lakers actually, get a third star or surround that team with Anthony Davis for a possible back-to-back or three-peat. I think that's way ahead of the gun. I think one championship, especially in 2020, is very reasonable. But LeBron's planting those seeds to where he's going to work more. And he's been talking about more, quote-unquote, with Nike, social activism as well as social justice. He wants to be like the next Ali, which he's not even in the same class. LeBron likes to speak out as well as be a spokesperson with Nike, kind of orchestrating the I Promise school in 2018 whenever he left Cleveland to get a good rep whenever he went to the Los Angeles Lakers. And then LeBron, with there was some China controversy. Then LeBron stepped back into the George Floyd situation to re-enhance his quote-unquote off-the-court GOAT-ish moments. So LeBron's trying to be the GOAT. He knows it's not going to be usually with the rings, more on impact on and off the court. But listen, 2016 Game 7, that was a GOAT moment. That's not a GOAT overall in his whole career. That's where LeBron is, of course, top 5. If he wins another championship, if he reaches over 38K points over Kareem, probably racks up another MVP and more accolades. I could see LeBron being second greatest of all time. I don't have a problem for that. But, it's still too early. He has another 3 to 4 seasons.
But Chris, don't
I
forget
love that
Kyrie
all
Irving
3 of you.
made that shot.
No, you're right.
That's true.
That might be the biggest shot in NBA history, Antoine.
Such an impressive career so far that all 3 of you have such different awesome moments from LeBron James. Some say this year, though, guys, might be his best shot or easiest shot, if you will, to win a title. Antoine, let me ask you, what would a title this season with the Lakers do for LeBron?
And people aren't really noticing this. Listen, the Warriors are out this season. Even without Kevin Durant, they're still a top 3 team in the West. They're still a championship contender. They still have that same foundation and winning culture when it comes to it. They're still part of the quote-unquote dynasty, not enhanced with KD, but they're still in that picture of being a championship contender. That will give any team in the West trouble, and let alone could get to the finals. And in the Eastern Conference, Kevin Durant's out for the season. So with LeBron, this is his perfect opportunity. I think this is why he's going to win the championship, because you won't have the Warriors as well as the Nets in this picture. Now, coming 2021, next season, yeah, it's going to be tough for any team to win the championship. You're going to have the Bucks and the Nets, the Celtics, maybe even a retooled Miami Heat and Sixers in the East. And then in the West, you're going to have the Lakers, depending if Anthony Davis resigns, which I see to be the case. You're going to have the Lakers, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Mavericks. I think the Mavericks are really going to leap up, probably a top 4, top 5 seed. Then you have to give respect to the Jazz and the Nuggets. I think the Thunder may blow it up with Chris Paul. But yeah, 2021, there's going to be around 7 to 8 teams that are really going to fight to get in the contention. But right now, it's only 3 teams, the Clippers, Lakers, and the Bucks. But if LeBron does win a championship again, I'm going to have to move him to my Mount Rushmore in the NBA. If he continues it up, at the end of the day, when his career's done with, if he plays 19 to 20 seasons, I won't have a problem if you put him the second best player of all time. Definitely not the GOAT unless he reaches 6 titles. And if he actually does three-peat with the Lakers, I know that's a wild card. But that's when I would actually really look into reevaluating to where that could be a legitimate debate with him and MJ. But overall, if he wins the championship, the media is going to be boosting him as the GOAT. People are going to have to make some pretty good cases on his impact. I still have a number 4 all time if that's the case when it comes to LeBron.
I think it starts that conversation again, putting him in the category with Michael and who's the GOAT in the league, because he gets it with 3 different teams. If he happens to win one with the Lakers this year, then you got to think about this year is going to be a little bit harder because the Western Conference is so tough. I think right now we're probably thinking it's going to be the Lakers versus Clippers to get to the finals. So to go through them is going to be very difficult.
I remember the beginning of the season, some cats were saying that the Jazz and the Nuggets were competitive enough to make it to the finals. I was laughing at them. I already knew it was either going to be the Clippers or the Lakers when it came to it, and the Rockets in the mix. I still had the Lakers in the beginning of the season to win the championship, but as we've seen the Nuggets and the Jazz depreciating as well as not being in that number one tier in the West. So, teams are being exposed as well as what we've seen. The Western Conference is respectable and formidable, but listen, the Lakers are probably going to play against the Grizzlies in the first round. That's going to be an easy sweep. They're probably going to play against the Jazz or Thunder in the second round. That's an easy second round matchup for them. And then what actually gets really tough and serious is going to go against the Clippers, most likely in the conference finals, let alone the Bucks in the finals.
First and second round matchups, and then obviously the finals. I like Milwaukee to get to the finals, and that could be a very tough series as well. Milwaukee's playing very good basketball this season, so if he wins it this year, now you start that conversation again. You start putting him in that Michael Jordan conversation again.
See, I wonder, Antoine, if there's any Jordan, let's say we divide NBA fans into two camps. You've got a Jordan camp and you've got a LeBron camp. I don't know if anyone from the Jordan camp, if he wins this finals, moves over to LeBron camp. Maybe Broussard, and I know, like you talk about, Antoine, this road to the finals will be very difficult if you've got, I think Portland's going to sneak in, so if you've got to go through games.
Why do a lot of cats listen? Charles Barkley and this guy, I think one more other TV pundit saying the Blazers will make it to the playoffs. Listen, they're around 2 to 3 games behind the Grizzlies. Trevor Ariza is not playing the rest of the season. Damian Lillard is already mentally checked out. They can care less, and they're trying to heal up Nurkic and Zach Collins, a couple of their bigs. Listen, the Blazers are they're done mentally. They're not going to make the playoffs. I think for their last 8 games, they'll probably go around 2-6 or probably 3-5 in that range. Damian Lillard and the team, they're not focused at all to make it. The Pelicans have somewhat of a good schedule to where they can actually go against the Grizzlies in that play-in tournament. I think if anyone takes on the 8th seed, most likely the Grizzlies, but it can go to the Pelicans if they play in that play-in tournament.
And then Harden, Russ, and then Kawhi, and then Giannis. It is a gauntlet that they have to get through. It would certainly be impressive. But Broussard, I just don't know if someone is going to look up in October or if it pushes into November and say, like, you know what? I was a Jordan guy, and now I'm a LeBron guy. I just decided. I don't know if that's...
Well, I think with the younger crowd, with 2016 when he won the finals, some cats did proclaim that he's the GOAT. If LeBron does win with the Lakers being his third franchise and LeBron's championships are going to have to be more emotional. He's not going to reach it with quantity like 6 with MJ, but he's going to have to do more quality as well as emotional feels like 2016. Some cats were like, oh, that deserves a championship and a half or 2 championships for that one. Then with the Lakers, because of Kobe's death, tying the Boston Celtics all time. The Lakers haven't made the playoffs in 6 years or so, and LeBron's impact. They're going to raise the standard and the value when it comes to that championship. So I could see people lining them up neck and neck with LeBron and MJ. I would disagree. But this actually does show LeBron's impact, but it still doesn't justify him as the GOAT.
Well, first of all, I'm starting to think Wiles is on Portland's payroll because you find a way. I don't think Dame and DJ believe in themselves as much as you do, but I think you have a point, Kevin. I don't know that anybody will move from the Jordan camp, but Antoine is right. It does just add more fuel and ammunition to LeBron's argument. Look, he would join Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in reaching 10 NBA finals. Now, of course, he would have lost 6, but still, just to play in 10 NBA finals, and he led his team every single year. The only other player who led his team to more finals if LeBron gets there for his 10th would have been Bill Russell with 12. And so that is a huge, notch in LeBron's belt, if you will, in the GOAT conversation. Also, a part of this has to be storyline and great memory.
Bingo. Yeah, 2016 storyline. With 2020, this is going to be a huge storyline. Kobe Bryant's death, Lakers tying the Celtics, LeBron James' 17th season, 3rd championship, 4th finals MVP. I mean, everything just is lining up for this season perfectly to really enhance and hit that go button for the media to proclaim he's the GOAT, or these are GOATish moments. He's definitely in that debate. I think, listen, whenever it comes to LeBron being in the debate of a GOAT against Michael Jordan right now, it's pretty cringy. LeBron does have impact moments and uplifting franchises, which I'll give him credit for. But LeBron's 3-6 in the finals. But if LeBron wins this championship, I would actually really, would like to hear these debates because it's actually more legitimate. I would still have LeBron number 4 all time because he still needs to catch probably another championship to hop over Bill Russell as well as Kareem, because Bill Russell was the GOAT of his era. Kareem was up there in the mix with six regular season MVPs as well as 6 championship. Him and Magic were kind of back and forth. But if LeBron wins like around a 5th championship, definitely passing over Magic and Kareem. Let alone would probably have to most likely go over Bill Russell as the second greatest of all time. But with the 4th championship, he's definitely going to be in the Mount Rushmore of the NBA. I would like to see how it ends off into fashion. But I'm kind of jumping the gun because the Lakers haven't, let alone been to the playoffs right now, let alone been to the championship or won. So let's kind of continue.
And those are some of the things. When we think of Jordan Shrug after hitting, I think the 7 3-pointers against Portland in the first half of the finals, those iconic moments matter to people in this whole conversation. This would give LeBron 2 absolutely storybook NBA championships. I just mentioned the one with the 3-1 comeback over the 73-win team in Golden State. If he led LA to this title in the year that the tragedy of Kobe Bryant's death, the tragedy of a global pandemic, I mean, I think all of that would just play into what could arguably be one of the top most memorable NBA championships in history. LeBron would have 2 of them. So I think that would be huge for his legacy.
Would it be enough for you to switch camps? Would you go?
No. I mean, again, I would put him most likely, definitely number 4 all time, worst case scenario. I'm not really sure about number 3 or number 2. I haven't thought that much into it. I'll have to see how it plays out, if anything, how they beat the Bucks or any other team in the Eastern Conference. With him and MJ, when people debate about it, I think, sure, go ahead. I will have a listening ear because LeBron's impact in those 2 championships are worthy enough, as well as winning with 3 different franchises. So LeBron's impact is there for being great. But MJ has pretty much a flawless resume. But I would still entertain that, the debate in that conversation.
From a Jordan guy to a LeBron guy, would it take more than just winning this year?
Yeah, it would take a little more.
Yeah, I mean, overall, whenever LeBron or if he wins this championship, I expect it to be. This is going to be a huge increase and bump in his legacy coming off around this season. Especially if beating a young MVP and Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially in his 17th season for LeBron James. A lot of people are going to proclaim he's the GOAT. A lot of people are going to say he's the second greatest of all time. Some people like me are probably going to say, yeah, he's number 3, number 4 all time, or somewhere in that mix. But overall, I have him around in that area, in that range. But hey, guys, it has to be determined.